This is Hofstra's Campus Conversations, the official podcast of Hofstra University's leadership team, focusing on issues of importance to Hofstra and higher education. Now welcome today's host, Hofstra President Susan Poser.
Hello, and welcome to Hofstra's Campus Conversation. Today we're celebrating one of Hofstra's signature events, the annual Gala. It's a night of elegance, generosity, and impact, raising funds for scholarships for Hofstra students. And this year, we're honoring somebody who has made an indelible mark on our university. And our guest today, the chair of Hofstra's Board of Trustees and the 2025 Gala Honoree, Don Schaeffer. Don, thank you for being here, and congratulations.
Thank you, Susan. It's a privilege to be here with you in the studio of the nationally acclaimed and award-winning radio station of Hofstra, WRHU. And thank you for your congratulations. I'm both thrilled and humbled to be this year's honoree. It's a real privilege.
Well, let's start by giving our listeners a sense of your professional journey, which, could take the entire podcast because it's quite amazing. Anyway, go ahead. We'll try not to have it take the whole podcast.
Well, I won't allow it to. I'll be succinct. I was born and raised in the town of Hewlett, right here on the south shore of Long Island and just down the road from Hofstra. Upon graduating from Hewlett High School, I was an undergraduate at the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania. From there, I went to the Columbia Law School, where I received my law degree. My wife, Joan, and I, after my graduation from law school, moved to Philadelphia, where I practiced tax law for 7 years. We then returned to New York, and I joined a predecessor firm of my current CPA firm, Schaeffer & Sam CPA PC. Our firm specializes in tax, estate planning, accounting, and legal matters for families and their businesses. I'm also a trustee of several major family foundations, as well as Hofstra, and I serve as a board member for a public real estate investment trust.
Well, that's quite a career, Don. So you are both a CPA and an attorney.
Yes, I wear both hats, and those hats have been very invaluable to me when advising clients.
Yes, that's fantastic. So you've given so much to Hofstra, and yet you are not a Hofstra graduate yourself. How did the relationship with Hofstra begin for you?
I was named an honorary alumnus in 2014, but my connection goes back much further. I began working with Fred DeMattis, his family, and his companies when I returned to New York in 1982. Years later, I was introduced to Hofstra. I was impressed here at Hofstra by the energy on campus and the dedication of the administration, faculty, and students. I joined the advisory board of Hofstra College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and then I joined the Board of Trustees in 2015. I've served as chair since 2019, which has been a great honor.
And you've been a magnificent chair, Don, but
you.
We'll get to that in a moment. You do have some Hofstra alumni in your family, don't you?
Oh, I do, yes. My son Andrew graduated from the Zarb School of Business, and his wife Becca is a graduate of the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication. They met after Hofstra, but the connection runs deep. And now their daughter, Stella, our granddaughter, is nearly 2 years old. We're working on getting her admitted early. And I must say I thank you for encouraging that when on her birth you gave her all that swag.
Well, just consider it done. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so let's go back then now and talk about your leadership as board chair. And I've said this before on many different occasions. I might not be here right now if it weren't for your guidance as chair. So what was it like leading the university through a presidential transition, particularly during a global pandemic, right? Because all of the interviews that I went through, I don't know, there were 5 or something on Zoom while I was in Chicago. What was that like from your side?
It was very challenging. In 2020, our former president, Stuart Rabinowitz, announced his retirement. We immediately launched a national search. Then COVID hit, and everything changed overnight. The board had to balance continuity of leadership with ensuring the university's survival. We went through a lengthy virtual search and identified you, Susan, as a very strong candidate. Your work at Nebraska stood out. Much of the interview process was virtual. I remember your masked visit to campus as a finalist. And then we were thrilled when you accepted the position of president of this great university. I knew then that we would be in excellent hands going forward under your leadership.
Well, thank you. That's very nice. I sure remember coming out here after pretty much getting the offer over the phone and thinking, well, I can't really become president of a place I've never stepped foot on. So that was an interesting ride from Chicago during the pandemic. But anyway, so it was a challenging time for everybody. But your steady leadership, I have to say, was one of the reasons I felt very confident joining Hofstra, and it was so clear to me from all those interviews. So let's just stay with COVID for a moment. How do you reflect on that time in general, sort of at the university?
Greatness of people and greatness of institutions show during the most difficult times. What I saw at Hofstra during those times was a team that worked together and had a tireless effort. The administration, the board, the faculty, the staff, and the students, all working together to make the issues that we were facing work for the university and for each. We were committed to stay open as long as it was safe, and then returning as soon as we could. We adapted quickly, shifted to online learning with quality and care, and we prioritized student safety, both mental and physical. Looking back, I'm proud of how we navigated it. We did the best we could with the information that we had.
Yeah, it was quite amazing. You were open really before most other places reopened.
Yes.
It was quite incredible what went on here. So let's talk about another dimension of your legacy at Hofstra. There are so many of them. And this is your philanthropy. The Joan and Donald Schaeffer Black Box Theater is just one example. Why is supporting the arts so important to you and Joan?
Joan is my partner in all things. We make these decisions together. We believe the arts are vital to a complete education. The Black Box Theater creates a space for creativity and community. We've also supported arts scholarships, like the Irene and Emmanuel Schaeffer Endowed Scholarship, named for my parents. Whether it's a piano, a play, or a research grant, we want to help students find their voice. In fact, we donated a literal piano, a refurbished Steinway, that had been in Joan's family for 3 generations.
Well, as somebody who owns a refurbished Steinway, I can tell you that is the greatest gift, an absolutely beautiful piano. So we're eternally grateful for all of this.
And one of the great gifts for us is listening to students play the piano.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple of recitals for our benefit.
Yes,
it was
one just
beautiful.
recently,
Yes.
right? You and Joan have also funded fellowships across the disciplines. You sort of made reference to that, from pre-med to the humanities. Can you talk about why you do that in addition? I mean, this isn't just about loving the arts. It's really about the whole school and everything. So where does the rest of that come in?
You're exactly right. We established a Joan and Donald Schaeffer Fellowship in 2005 to enable pre-med students to do summer clinical research projects. That was giving them the opportunity to see what it would be like to enter the field of medicine. Later, we created the Dean Bernard J. Firestone Fellowship for Humanities and Social Sciences to give students a chance to engage in learning and research in areas that they love and that they're passionate about. We believe summer research builds skills, confidence, and curiosity. It's about giving students the freedom and time to explore.
Really the heart of a liberal arts
Yes.
education.
Absolutely.
Which you have supported in so many interesting and diverse ways. So, as if this weren't enough, we now get to, dare I say, your true love. Don, you are also an author of children's books and musicals. Tell us a little bit about that side of your life.
Let me start by saying that I believe that anything we do in life, it would be wonderful and it's very important to have passion in what we do. And certainly on the musical writing side, I have a great deal of passion. And I've explored and utilized that passion in the things that I've done for many years now. I've written a trilogy of children's musicals that were performed locally in our community. I like to say that they're off-Broadway musicals because we live about a mile off Broadway in the town of Lynbrook. We live in Hewlett. I've published 4 children's books, including 2 award-winning chapter books, And my latest, Sienna and the Magical Adventure, came out earlier this year. Writing is a joy to me, and it allows me to share lessons and imagination with young readers. And I love working with young people. Most recently, I was over at our child care center reading one of my books, a picture book, The Spider Who Saved the Tree, to our pre-K students, and it was a delight. Let me just also say that Joan leads our publishing company, which is Circle Originals, LLC.
Wonderful. So I remember you once told me the story of how you got started on this. Can you tell our audience that story? Wasn't it telling stories to your son?
Yes, it was. As my son was growing in his earliest years, we would sit many times when he was going to sleep. I would tell him a story. I'd read books too, but I told him stories which were original stories that I'd make up on the spot. I knew they were good stories when sometimes at night, as I was telling him the story, I'd kind of drift off to sleep, and he would wake me up to finish the story. So I said, I think I have some good things here. And so then I said, let me write them down while they're fresh in my mind so I can remember them. And I did, and they became short stories. We'd go in and read them to his classes, nursery school, pre-K, first grade. The students loved them. So I said, oh, there's something really interesting here. But I paused, and in second grade, when Andrew was in second grade, in the New York State system, they have a competition for students in the elementary school called Reflections. And it's a competition to encourage students to engage in the arts and experience the arts and perhaps even create a love for themselves in the arts. I didn't participate in that when I was young because it wasn't there, but I did, through my parents and my mother in particular, develop a true love for the arts. Andrew came home with his assignment in second grade, and it was an assignment to pick any area of the arts and do something under the theme. And the theme that year was, it would really be strange if. He could write a poem, he could draw, or you could do music. Andrew hadn't formally engaged in music at that time. We had a piano in the house, but he wasn't playing. I would play sometimes, but I'm not accomplished. I'd play by ear. And so Andrew thought about it, and he said, I want to write a song. I said, okay, you want to write a song? He said, yes. I said, so let's go to the piano, and we'll write a song. You'll write a song. And I just explained to him the rudiments of a song as I understood them, which are the lyrics and the music. You could write the music first and then fit lyrics to it, or you could write the lyrics first and fit music to it. And he said, what do you do when you write a song? And I said, well, I write the music first and fit the lyrics. He said, that's what I want to do. So I taught him the basics of the piano, and I'm saying this to an accomplished pianist, Susan. I taught him the do, re, mi, and the letters, C, D, E, the notes. He started to write his song, and he wrote the song. It had its components, but he wrote the song. Then I said, okay, now you do the lyrics. So the theme was, it would really be strange if. That was the title of his song. So his first verse was, it would really be strange if, it would really be strange if my dad was a pumpkin pie. I said, you can't do that. That's so silly. I said, no, wait a minute. That would really be strange. Yes, I love it. And we went from there, and he used his imagination and his creativity, which was what this competition was all about, to write the lyrics, combine them to the song, and then complete the song.
Wow.
Entered it in the competition. He won in the district. He won in the county. He won on Long Island for his age group, for that category, music. And he went all the way up to the States, and he was a finalist.
Wow.
And I said, if he could do this, just imagine what young people could do if they put their minds to things and they're encouraged. They can create. Who knows what they can do? So I said, if he could write that song, I'm going to write a musical called Just Imagine. And I'm going to write it, he was in second grade, for the third grade class, if they will have it. And it will be the entire class of the third grade just imagining what they might want to be when they grow up. I'd write a part for everybody, and I'd write the music for the play. And they would perform it in the spring when the students do their musicals. And the teachers engaged, the principal engaged, the music teacher engaged, and we did the play. Yeah. And it was a tremendous success. As a matter of fact, when they were in 8th grade graduating from the middle school. They took a trip out to the island on one of the fancy buses for them with a video, and they said you could watch any video that you want. And they chose Just Imagine.
Oh.
Because they wanted to
The
see
memories.
themselves when they were back in second
No,
grade.
that's a lovely story.
So, yes.
Fantastic. Just amazing. So I think we've covered most of your career. I'm sure not all of it. But let's talk for a minute in closing about, thinking about all of that and your involvement, particularly with Hofstra. What does it mean to you to be honored at the gala? I've been sort of begging you to do now for a couple of years. So finally, tell us a little bit about how you're feeling about that.
I'm very honored to be honored. It's deeply meaningful. Hofstra's become part of my family's story. To be part of the Hofstra community is just such a joy. It's a passion that I have. It's allowing me to participate in the shaping of the university's future and the benefiting of our students, one student at a time.
Don, thank you so much for joining me today. I know that evening is going to be just fantastic. And more importantly, I want to thank you for everything that you've done for Hofstra. And I said, I really don't think I would be here if it weren't for you. Your leadership, your generosity, and your personal commitment have made an extraordinary impact on this university and on its students. I am so looking forward to celebrating you at this year's gala. It's going to be a really wonderful night. And to our listeners, thank you as always for tuning in. We hope to see many of you at the Hofstra Gala on May 1st. You can get more information and buy your tickets at hofstra.edu/gala. And I will tell you that the arena, the Mac Arena where we play basketball and other things, is transformed at that time into an absolutely gorgeous dining room. The food is excellent, and it's always such a fun time. So looking forward to celebrating you, Don, on May 1st. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in.
If you have questions, comments, or topic ideas for Hofstra's Campus Conversations, please email podcast@hofstra.edu. Hofstra University has produced and provides this podcast for general information only. It is created in collaboration with WRHU Studios.